Hi guys and gals, welcome to Puddney Ridge TV. So, a lot of you probably don't know me. I'm actually the editor and Danny's wife. So, I wanted to do something a little different than the trail rides and the builds that we've been doing lately. So I thought it would be a really good idea to show you some of the kind of crazy critters that I personally am raising and taking care of over here, and give you a little bit of a rundown on them. If you like this and you want to see more, let me know. I have no objections to showing off my creatures. I don't know how they feel about the attention, but I'm sure they'll love it once they get used to it. So, as you can see, I have 2 clear tanks, a smaller little kind of takeout tank, a curtain, and a couple green tubs over there. Ignore the plant. This is actually my niece's bedroom when she spends the night with me. So that's why it's all colorful and bright and beautiful, I guess is the best way to put that. So we'll start with this first little tank I've got here. And inside, I actually have a bunch of tiny little tadpoles. I don't know how well you can see them. They are so itty bitty in here. Now these are tree frog tadpoles to the best of my knowledge, just kind of the common tan tree frog variety. My dad, which is where I got these, actually has a couple kiddie ponds that he got for some ducks that we used to have, and the tree frogs in our area have taken it over. So when I first noticed these little guys, they looked kind of like little baby guppies, and they looked super weird. So I kind of wanted to, and oh, I see a little spider crawling under there. Cool. I wanted to see exactly what they were and kind of what they would develop into, just because I'd never seen tadpoles that looked like little white guppies, considering these are going to turn into tan tree frogs. So I got a jar and got a few of them, and I know this water looks disgusting. Trust me when I tell you, it is 100 times better than what I found them in. I'm actually pretty sure my sister, who was helping me kind of get some together, found a dead rat in their water. So this is an improvement. What was originally in here, I'll explain here in a little bit. The green that you see floating is actually lettuce, because when I first brought them home, I didn't really know much about tadpoles, so I did a little bit of research, and you can feed them lettuce. It's actually relatively good for them. So I keep some lettuce in here for them to munch on or hide in, and this is actually a jar I brought them home in that they can use kind of as a hidey hole, or if they start to grow legs and I don't notice before I can get them out, they actually have somewhere to climb out on so they don't drown. Because even though they're tadpoles, when they become frogs, they're not really aquatic at that point. So, like I said, they're itty bitty little babies in here. I don't know how this camera will pick them up, but if you want to see more of a close-up or anything like that in a later video, I am not opposed to dunking this camera underwater, even if my husband's not okay with it. So, we'll figure that out. Now, what I do feed them besides the lettuce is I actually, because of these guys who are hiding from me right now, I have floating turtle food, and I actually have some baby turtle food at that tank. And what I do is I take several of the floating sticks and I crush them up in a little bowl and just sprinkle it in their water. I haven't really seen any of them go for it. They haven't really eaten anything that I've noticed, but they're a lot bigger than they were when I first brought them home. So I'm assuming that means they're at least eating something, but they seem to be doing really well with that. Like I said, they're way bigger than they were when I first brought them home. When I actually first brought them here, you couldn't even see them, and now you can kind of see little black specks almost, and that's typically them. There's one big one hiding over here in this corner. So we're going to keep an eye on them and kind of see how they develop and if they'll grow for me, because they're still kind of small. So in this next tank, I actually have 2 red-eared slider turtles, Mochi and Da Vinci. They're male and female. I've had them probably about 7 or 8 years now. I got them pretty soon after I got out of high school, and I'm done with college and grown now, obviously. So now, what was originally in this big tank or well, it's not as big as this one, but this tank is a much older, bigger version of these two. I had a good friend of mine who was moving into a smaller house, and he could not, unfortunately, take her with him. So he asked me if I wanted her, and I said, absolutely, I will take care of her. Unfortunately, I had her for several months, and I kept them all together. You're not really supposed to. They don't typically, feeding wise, get along. I think because these two I've had since they were pretty much hatchlings, I haven't had any issues with them fighting over food or being really food aggressive in any sort of sense. The big female I had was, and I did not notice it until it got bad. She actually took a bite, and yes, I said that correctly, a bite, out of my female red-eared slider, which, if I can grab her, they like to hide under this waterfall in the daytime, I don't know why. Come here, baby. Let me grab her up, then I'll show you. So if you look on the side of her shell, that's actually where Big Turtle took a bite out of her. And it's healed up for the most part. She doesn't act like it's bothering her too bad. So I've just kind of let it lie. But I did unfortunately have to separate them and get rid of her because I can't have that. And she was way too big for that tank, and I just didn't have any other options, which sucked, but she's happier now, I'm sure. So the reason I know that these are male and female is because if you look, sorry the camera's moving so weird, I'm not used to holding this. If you look very closely, and she's not going to stick her feet out because she does not like me touching her, her claws are actually not that long. I know they look long, but trust me, when I pick up the male, you'll see what I'm saying. And the bottom of her shell, this V that she's got going on right here, and I can't really show you because I'm holding a camera with one hand and her with the other, but the V that she's got going on right up in here is a lot wider and more pointy, I want to say, than my male that I have in here. And not only that, and I know she's going to hate being held upside down and kind of at an angle. Do not kick me right now, baby. You will fall. Her tail, which she has very securely tucked up in her shell right now, is more blunted and kind of shorter than her male counterparts. And that's just a few of the ways that you can really tell a male from a female when it comes to these turtles. A lot of times, the bigger they get, it's a lot easier. The females typically outgrow the males, weirdly enough. And I think that was also part of the reason that the female was so mean to my female, is it was a sex thing, because she was a female and I have one male and then two female turtles. I don't know, it may have been territorial, but that's a pretty nasty bite. So let me put her down and grab her brother, who hates being picked up like this, or her lover, whichever. Stop kicking, stop. So that was Mochi, and this is Da Vinci. And as you can see, if he's not going to growl at me now. He usually does when I pick him up. His little flare is not nearly as wide or as predominant as Mochi's. Stop kicking me, Da Vinci. It hurts. You have claws. And also, if you look, this is what I'm saying. Do you see how big those claws are on him? That's insane. And also, I don't want to flip him towards my hand because he may bite me. His tail, which he has tucked up too, but it's a little easier to see. His tail is a lot longer and a lot pointier than hers. And that's typical indication of a male red-eared slider. He's actually a lot less shy than his sister. He did growl at me last night. I usually feed these guys, stop kicking me, good lord. I usually feed these guys every other day just to not overfeed them. I did when they were babies. I started out feeding them every day. And when I say they were babies, I mean they were this big. Now the female I had, she was the size of an average dinner plate. These guys haven't really grown a whole lot. They're a lot bigger than they were when I first got them, but they're still kind of small. So my male is actually, at his age, he is sexually mature. My female will not be for a few more years, which is kind of weird. So that's also another reason I think the big turtle kind of had an issue with her, is he was ready, she was ready, and then they had this like little sister that was popping in the scene going, hey, no, don't do that, that's my brother. Typical little sister behavior. I love you, sis. But I think that's part of the issue too. I did look into breeding these two. Kind of a lot of hard work and a lot of gotta know what you're doing, gotta make sure you do it just right when it comes to turtle breeding. And I just said, you know what, they're better as siblings, we'll just leave that alone. I don't want to put that much stress on either one of them. Now, I know as I was kind of flashing back and forth, you may have saw this little piece sitting on top of the tank. This is actually a piece of one of their shells. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when turtles grow, they actually, just like snakes and lizards and spiders, shed part of their shell. Like snakes and spiders and lizards, they shed like their shell like they do, like a spider or snake would shed skin. So this is actually a piece of one of their shells. I cannot tell which one because the color's kind of faded out. I'm gonna assume mochi, just because it's got that blunt coloring on it and it's not really as bright or as vivid as Da Vinci's. As you can see, his shell actually looks a little more colorful than hers, which is typical of male and female turtles. That is my two red-eared slider turtles. And if you want some more information on them, I'm more than willing to get them out, let them run around. They are semi-aquatic, so they can be out of water and in water. Typically, I would have a place for them to climb up out of the water and kind of sunbathe, but they destroyed it and I have yet to replace it. So once all this calms down a little bit and I get a chance to actually get Danny out in the shop to help me, we're going to build him another bathing little platform, and I'll maybe post a video of that being built or them playing on it. Da Vinci really loved it. Mochi was a little more shaky about the first one we had, so it just depends. Now, the food that I typically feed them is, like I said earlier with the tadpoles, is reptile sticks, and I actually ordered these two and then this gourmet turtle food that has mealworms and cranberries, although these two don't like cranberries, which is super weird. But this gourmet aquatic turtle food, all four of these I ended up ordering off Josh's Frogs, so shout out to them. This isn't sponsored by any means, but if you have any needs for aquatic animals, turtles, anything like that, frogs, they have a huge selection, and I'll talk a little bit more about kind of what all they do a little bit later when we get to kind of the surprise over here. That's the other thing, if the turtles are not doing well, and this is kind of a side note thing, their shells will get really soft and it could kill them. Turtle bone, because you can buy that and it floats and they chew on it and they really like it. But it just helps give them a little more calcium and promotes better shell growth. The other thing I'm going to mention before I move on to my other critters, anytime, and this is like a PSA for anybody, anytime you touch a turtle, anything aquatic, frogs, anything like that, please, please, please wash your hands. I'm going to, as soon as I finish this video, I'm not doing it right now because I'm still got a couple other critters to show you, but wash your hands. They can carry salmonella, so just make sure anytime you touch them, you wash your hands. It's super important. I can't stress it enough. My niece absolutely loves my turtles and comes over here and plays with them and pets them, and I immediately make her wash her hands when she's done before she even says my name. So that's the turtles. The next little critters I'm going to show you guys are more tadpoles, and these are actually some bigger tadpoles. They came out of their pond this size, and I moved them because they have legs. This one, actually, if it'll stop moving, he came to me with fully formed back legs, and within the past day or two, I want to say, he developed front legs, and I am worried he's going to climb out, so that's why they're in this container. It is a lot smaller than I want to keep them in. Actually, when they develop, I'm going to release them in the wild because they are native to our area. So I don't have to worry about like harming the ecosystem with them or anything like that because they're native here. But if I can get the other one to hold still long enough to show you, if you look, this little guy is actually more frog shaped than his big brother over here, who is still very much round like a tadpole. This guy definitely is showing more frog. yesterday when I was feeding him, he actually was using his back legs more to stand than just his belly like this guy's doing. I said there's a lid on this one. The last thing I want is to come home and have a tree frog climbing all over this bedroom, and we usually have the door open. I shut it to kind of block out some background noise. So this is just a precaution. Otherwise, they'd be in the other tank with the other tadpoles. I just wanted to make sure I don't come home to a bunch of tree frogs crawling around on windows. So these are my two bigger tadpoles, which is super exciting. I can't wait to see them with their legs and actually being frogs. Comment in this video and let me know if you want to see them before I release them with their legs and like crawling around as real frogs. I'd be more than happy to do that. Like I said, any of these critters I'm super excited to talk about. So at any point in time, let me know.